Hi, and welcome back to our newest episode of the Garfield County Library Podcast. I'm Sarah, this is Rebecca, as per usual, and today we're going to be talking about philosophical or unusual fiction, highlighting Terry Pratchett's Equal Rites. So, first off, Rebecca, you've never read Terry Pratchett before, and I totally willingly forced her.
Yeah, it was not willingly. I don't do things just because people tell me because their birthday is coming up. No.
That being said, despite the subtle peer pressure, what did you think of Terry Pratchett?
I liked it. It was really good. It was really good.
Yes.
I think I'm trying to put this into words without sounding like I'm dumb.
You're not dumb.
But I really do enjoy how Esk has this kind of determination throughout the entire series. I'm just like, you telling me what? She pulled a full Tony Soprano, like, what are you doing? What are you talking about? What? You saying I can't do this? You know, I'm sorry for that really bad impression.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
It's so good that I just really enjoyed it a lot because, that's really how we should all be going around in life. And because it's called Equal Rites, pun intended, it just really shows you how, hey, you think I can't do this because I'm a gal, brother? I might not be the top, but I'm gonna still be great.
One of the things I love about Equal Rites, which for people's context, if you're just listening, Equal Rites is equal, R-I-T-E-S, so like the magic rights, but also a play on equal rights.
Yeah.
The premise of the story is about Esk, a girl who is born in the Discworld series. The way that a wizard is born is an older wizard passes their staff on to a new person that's just been born, and historically that has only ever been men to men. But the wizard that we see in the beginning of this book accidentally gives it to a young girl named Esk. Esk is raised in a rural town in the middle of nowhere, where it's kind of like, well, we can't let anyone know that she's a wizard because women aren't supposed to be wizards, but nonetheless, because of her magical capacity, she ends up getting taken in by a female witch named Granny Weatherwax. Why am I forgetting her name?
Yeah,
I shouldn't have doubted myself. I've read this book like 4 times.
Yeah, Sarah, you should know.
But
I called her Granny.
By Granny Weatherwax, who does what is known as head magic, or herbology, or practical magic. In terms of, if you've read fantasy before, it's kind of druidic, where she can shape shift and she can go into the mind of animals, and she knows how to do medicine, things like that. Yeah. But that's deemed as woman's work. So Granny thinks, perhaps I can train her to be a witch that just has some extra abilities. But as Esk grows and matures and you realize her talent for this magic, she realizes, I'm not going to be able to do this on our own. And the rest of the story is about them trying to get her into the wizard school, getting promptly rejected, and then shenanigans ensuing from there. But going over philosophical fiction in general, I really love philosophy and fiction. It deviates from your standard popular fiction, like say, even though he's not fantasy, take a look at James Patterson. When you're looking at it, you're going to get a very formulaic story. Not to say that's bad, it's just, if anything, it's good. It's what people enjoy. And in fantasy, you also tend to have these tropes of when you're going into a fantasy novel of you're going to be meeting the chosen one, this wizard that's been passed down through the line of dragons to the 9th kingdom, and yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
And that's not what you're getting when you read Terry Pratchett. It's very human, it's very relatable, and going back to philosophy fiction in general, I have a couple of examples of books here. Albert Camus, who is a philosopher, has written some great works on morality, but when he writes his fiction stuff, while I would still say he's funny, it still carries that like hefty weight of philosophy, which is what I would think most people would assume out of philosophical fiction.
Yes.
Or there's Kurt Vonnegut, who is incredibly satirical and covers really heavy topics. I'm tempted to say lightly, but it's still really heavy and quite dark, and it's a little hard to get through. Or someone as brilliant as Octavia Butler, who writes sci-fi, and she writes, as the Parable of the Talents, as I have down here, or she uses a sci-fi setting to talk about philosophy in kind of a dark, gritty way. Terry Pratchett touches on dark matters of society and difficult issues really lightly, and really funnily, in a way that's so relatable. Like if you can't tell, dear listener, I'm a little obsessed with Terry Pratchett.
There's a reason why it was chosen for their birthday.
It might be my birthday this month, which is why I have roped Rebecca into reading one of my favorite authors.
But hey, come October, what are we doing, Sarah? Oh, it's a secret.
It's a secret.
It's a secret. Yes. You guys know exactly what I like when we get to October.
When we get to October, yes. But speaking of touching on social issues, pretty obvious what Terry Pratchett's book is about, equal rights. It's about the stereotypes of why shouldn't our female main character, be able to be a wizard? And the conclusion of the book is she absolutely should be. There's no reason that should have been gendered in the first place. How do you think that it was handled?
I think it was honestly hilarious that her dad immediately was just like, bring the boy! And then Granny's like, what boy, brother? But he's like, nah, I won't listen. And he's like, here you go, wizard. And the wizard goes, bada bing, bada boom, dies. And he's like, damn. And he's a girl. And then Death is just like, oh, well, brother, who made the rules? He's like, I did. You know what the only rule is? You die. And that's it. And there's a really, and I'm making it seem so like blasé, but there's a really good quote when Death is talking to, what's his name? The wizard. His name is... The first
wizard here. I'll pull it up because it's like
it's something
very
with a
beginning
B.
of the book.
Yeah, because he ends up coming up later. I was gonna be like, blammy her, blah blah blah. Brief pause, guys.
Yeah, brief pause as I'm skimming through.
Yeah. Here, do you want me to like pull up real quick?
We'll see if you can get it before I do.
Oh my God, Sarah, if I can. Wow. No, I'm just joshing. No, I'm just joshing. Okay. Drum billet.
Drum billet, yes.
Yeah. Drum billet. Yeah. Drum billet. Yeah. So he. There's a really good quote, and maybe if you could find it.
Here's where Death and Drum is talking.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You got trained. You got it. It was with your karma. You have to hand it to yours. There is no going back. There is no going back. That's what life is all about, so I'm told. I wouldn't know, of course. You wouldn't like it. Take it from me about reincarnation. And then I've heard that some people do it all the time. You've got to be trained to it. You've got to start small, work up. You've no idea how horrible it is to be an ant. That part was funny because he's like, bro, you're gonna reincarnate as the worst thing ever if you don't know what you're doing. But I can't remember, there's a part where he talks about life and death and like how you, in death you really can't do anything. Yeah. It's just really like the perspective of, hey, once you're dead, you can't fix the problems that you created in your life. And even then you have to let those problems work out with or without you as an influence or, you know.
Even though, ironically, Drum Billet ends up reincarnating as a tree in Esk's yard.
Yeah, no, that's the funniest part. I was like, when Granny goes over there, she's like, bruh, you're a tree.
You know.
Like, I am.
So, ironically, the wizard ends up being more of a mentor to the girl because it's where she hides when she does her magic and things.
Yeah. I also think that you can really tell from just how some of the, I guess, I would call them like, I shouldn't say that word, like blocking characters. That's what I would call them, like the people that keep stopping Ask from like
antagonizing characters.
Antagonizing characters, yeah. They're just I guess metaphors for like what in reality as a woman you would run into. You know, there's a man who tries to steal the what's his name, the Skillet, the Skillet family, where they try to take her staff, and the staff turns into a snake. Like, brother, you try it. And it's just like, yeah, people are gonna try to take that sunshine from you at some point. They're gonna try to take that one thing that gives you the power. And as a woman, you kind of realize that, and it can be anybody. It doesn't have to be a specific gendered person where, you know, that they're gonna take your sunshine. Anybody can take your sunshine, but really it's up to you if you let it. And I feel like the staff really plays into that kind of like
almost destiny.
Yeah, destiny. Yeah, and also kind of like her mentality of just like, oh, you think you're because the staff in many ways is just like another piece of Esk.
Yes, no. The staff is something I wanted to touch base on because there are several points throughout the book where the staff is, one person or another tries to destroy the staff for their own purposes, which to me is a beautiful metaphor of, again, this innate talent that Esk has. The first person being Granny Weatherwax. When the problems first start happening, she tries to throw it in the fire, staff flies back out, and I think it hits her in the face.
It hits her in the head, and she's
and she conks out. And she comes to, and she's like, fine, I guess I'll deal with you. And then the next person being Skillet, who tries to steal it for their own means because Esk has wandered off on her own when she wasn't supposed to in this first city she's ever been to. And she goes into a bar and she turns all of the beer into milk.
That's my other thing. I'm like, Esk, stop running into these, like, that's another thing. She herself sometimes puts herself, but she, you know, I will give her the benefit that she lives in a small place, is kind of naive and hidden away from the realities of the world. If you're not really living in it, you're not really understanding. But there's to blame her parents for that.
No, absolutely, because her parents, the second that she was I cannot speak today. The second that she was born a wizard, her family was like, well, she can't be a wizard, she's a woman, and then they just don't ever touch it again. And they don't even necessarily deal with Granny. The only reason Granny Weatherwax gets involved is because Esk turns her brother into a pig. And at that point, they're like, okay, there's something wrong here that needs to be trained. And she's like, I tried telling you this.
And I will say the mom, and Smith says this, where he's like, if I try to oppose Granny, you know, this woman is going to be like, yeah, no, let her be with Granny. Because every woman in this village trusts Granny.
Yes.
Because, I mean, she's a witch. She's also a...
she's the midwife.
She's a midwife.
She's a doctor. She's a gardener. She's, again, a staple in this community as the person you go to when you need medicine, the person you go to when you need help with your garden, the person that if you're delivering babies, she's going to be there to help you.
Yeah.
She's this core pillar of the community doing a woman's work. That Granny herself would say... to her is superior to the ritual magic of the wizards, but she gets that tone softens throughout the book.
It does 100%, and it's in the ending where it really kind of just
the ending with her and the art. What's the
Simon?
Not Simon.
No, Trad.
I have to look up the actual name because I want to say Archmage, but that's D&D.
No, no, yeah, it's
Q-Tangle, who's the headmaster of the school. But going back to the staff room, because I wanted to touch base on this, because this will relate to Q-Tangle and Granny as well. The final person who tries to destroy the staff is actually Esk herself, because she befriends a young wizard named Simon, who it's adorable. He has this innate power, but it's so overwhelming that it kind of messes with him a little bit.
He stutters.
He stutters, and he's a little bit of a nerd, but we love Simon. But they're in the library together, and there's this place that the wizards can access called the Dungeon Dimension that is where they pull their magic from, but there's not always good things that are in the Dungeon Dimension. And there are these creatures that come after both him and Esk. And the staff knows to deal with the problem, knock out Simon, dimension goes away. Esk gets very mad at the staff that her ability is now hurting someone. So she throws it into the river. And it's a whole subplot that Granny and the headmaster have to go out and get the staff and escape together, which is where I think Hugh Tingle kind of softens towards Granny, realizing maybe we do need a woman's magic in the wizard school as well.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes Esk so great, is the fact that she has this training by Granny.
Yes.
You know, and I think it's in the first couple of chapters when Granny's training her that she's like, well, if you give this person this herb, it'll fix them. But if you give them this one, it won't do anything. But their mentality will make them believe that they're, that they're actually getting healed. And I think that's very telling in the sense of like, people will only heal or change or do anything if they have the willpower to do that. And I think that S kind of also comes to that realization when she's in the dark dimension with Simon, and the fact that she realizes like, okay, I just have to let loose. I have to like not think of doing magic right now. And and it's what fixes her problems, but it's just having that willpower that truly just comes out in the most dire of situations, or even when you're just feeling sick. You have that inner willpower. You're going to do what you are willing to do, what your body and your mind are willing to do. And I think that's what a lot of wizards were missing, and that's why they needed Granny and they needed Esk in that situation, because they were missing the willpower. And I think it's very much like, it's very showing of like, sometimes structure is great, but sometimes structure isn't going to give you what you are wanting out of this. It's what you put into it, you know?
Absolutely. What I love so much about all of this is, once again, the message here is balance in everything. Like there shouldn't necessarily be this strict dictation of who gets to do what. It's better that everyone gets balanced together, that we work together in community. And as a general rule for philosophical or weird fiction, I love Terry Pratchett because you would think that with a book called Equal Rites, that the messaging would feel heavy-handed. And I mean, admittedly, it is a little bit. But you kind of end up forgetting about it as you're reading it, because the characters feel so human, and it's done in such a genuine, like, people-centric way. Do you catch my drift?
It's like, it's not very, and we may have to cut this, but it's not very political. It's not politicized in the sense of like equal rights, but no, it's more of like, hey, as a human, just see me as a human. Don't see me as like what's really being applied to me by other entities, but rather they're like, hey, I'm just here. We're both just here. It just happens to be that we're put in these boxes and these structures of like, this is how we should be, and a wizard can only be a man, and no, a woman can only be witches, and that's it, but they can never be a wizard. And
the thing I love about the book is that it never necessarily, it might poke fun a little bit, but it never like belittles people for believing in the structures beforehand. Like Granny Weatheraxe, like she's very much she can't be a wizard, she's a woman. She has to do the woman's work, so I'm going to teach her the woman's magic. And it's not until she realizes, but there's so much more to ask, that she finally caves in on that. And I think that's really the way that things go. It's all right that we have these structures, but there's got to be a good balance in between. Once again, Terry Pratchett doesn't really feel, despite it being called Equal Rites, it does not feel heavy-handed. It doesn't tell you what you have to think. It just shows you the evidence that I think, personally, I would say is fairly in tune with reality, despite being a book about magic and fantasy.
Especially because I think the part that got me where I was just like, wait, whoa, what? Was when she said, wait, when Esk is asking Granny these questions about wizards and witches, and she goes, aren't wizards men who are witches? And then she goes, no, that's a warlock. And then I was like, whoa, a man can be a warlock and a wizard? I'm like, get it out of here. I was like, well, they're not the same thing, because, really the only person who combined those two things was Esk. Because even if a warlock was like, hey, let's be a wizard, they would have been a bit more accepting about it. Because, hey, a man can only be a wizard. But because they see Esk, somebody who's supposed to be just one singular thing, they're like, no. you could be a warlock and a wizard, but you're a witch. You can't be a witch and a wizard. So it's kind of just very, it's like you said, it's not like heavy-handed, but in a sense it's also heavy-handed, where it's like you get this really good balance. And hey, it really goes back to the balance thing.
Yes, absolutely.
Terry Pratchett was being literal and also being fictitious with it as well.
You know, Terry Pratchett has this beautiful way of very gently poking fun at social issues, and instead of necessarily providing a solution, instead just showing humanity in the way that we react to it. And Equal Rites is the first book of the Witches series, which is part of the larger world of the Discworld. I thought it was the first book of the Discworld series. It's not, but it is the first book of the Witches series, which is about women in the world.
Okay.
But Discworld, as a general rule, applies the same concepts. Some of them end up getting a little bit more adult. Guards is another one of my favorites. Goes more into like the patrol, and it's a lot more satirical. But it once again still touches on issues of like work inequality and things of that nature. My main point for this is if you are looking to branch out, you want to read something that's not your standard run-of-the-mill story that touches on philosophy, but you are scared of getting into the really heavy works like Albert Camus, which I would also still recommend. You want to get the introduction. Terry Pratchett's your gateway in. He's funny, he's accessible. As a warning for parents, he does use some crass language, like there are some swear words, there are some sexual jokes made, but for the most part it stays pretty PG-13, so I'd say it's still pretty applicable for most ages. So it's, to me, a great gateway into the world of the weird, as I would put it. What are your thoughts after reading it, as this is not a genre you typically touch into?
No, I think if people are just kind of trying to understand social problems out there in the world, it's good to kind of relate it to something that they're really interested in. Like fantasy people could, and they're like, what is this whole equal rights thing? Hey, read Equal Rights. And I think that a lot of people do need that kind of way to relate it to what they really like. I'm somebody who typically needs certain things to be explained to me in terms that I'm already used to. It's, ironically enough, kind of like how Suzanne was telling us, which will be later on in this interview, or if not before, but she basically said, like, you need to have your home language, and then if you don't, before you can truly learn another language, you have to understand like all these very important big words in your home language to understand the new language. Because, and I think it's very important as well with literature. It's like if you want to learn these bigger concepts, but you are only so comfortable with this one kind of, you know, it could be a movie, TV show, book, whatever it is. You can always try to find ways into relating it into what you've already know. And I think that's how I've gone with my own life and in my own personal life with studying and stuff like that. It's like relating what I'm trying to learn into a language that I know better. You know,
and I mean, looking at the history of literature, parables and allegories have existed for centuries for a reason. We learn best when we encounter it in a story. And I feel like Terry Pratchett's a really safe place to encounter some of these social issues in a way that no matter who you are or what your background is, you're going to leave feeling good about it.
100%,
So
yeah. Do you want to add anything else?
I suppose I'd say read the Discworld series. I love it, love it, love it. I got hooked on Terry Pratchett through his book with another author, Neil Gaiman, called Good Omens. That's one I would say is a little bit more adult leaning, so in terms of accessibility, but another book that I sincerely love. But if there's ever a book I'd recommend, seriously, any of the Discworld series. Equal Rites in the Witches series is phenomenal. Guards is phenomenal. Discworld is not sequential, so you can read them out of order and still have sense made. But in general, I think the main point I'd hope to make is there is a world of fiction out there that covers a wide berth of topics. And I really encourage you, dear listener, to push past your comfort zone and explore a bit more into books that kind of touch on deeper issues. because they're out there and they're good and they're fun and enjoyable reads. I would like to hope you enjoyed.
100%. And it's fun to have something that you can, because I do also think that sometimes you don't want to read it because, like me, I'm somebody who likes to find the humor in things rather than keep too serious. I'll be serious when we need it, but nonetheless, it's like if I can find a way to humor the situation and be like, hey, let's make a little bit light of this. I think Terry Pratchett is a really good example of a good author who can make a serious situation a little bit more like comfortable and a little bit more like the ability to joke around with it and humor the situation and being like, wow, this is wild. But it's a problem, and as a world we can fix it.
And in terms of fantasy, he's definitely a little bit more accessible. You're not going to have to remember 4,000 names by chapter 2.
Yes, which I mean I'm fine with most books.
With most books, but nonetheless, as a critique of fantasy, I would not necessarily call this high fantasy despite adhering to several of the tropes.
Yeah. But yeah.
Great. Perfect. We'll move on to our next section with Suzanne. Yeah.
Hi guys, welcome to our discussion segment for the podcast. Today we have a very special guest here, Suzanne from Raising a Reader. So we're very excited to talk about everything Raising a Reader is and any information you guys are interested in knowing.
Alrighty. So welcome in, Suzanne. We're so happy to have you. What is Raising a Reader?
Sure. Yeah, I'm Suzanne, and I've been the executive director at Raising a Reader. And so Raising a Reader was a nonprofit that was started by a local woman in 2004 who started to see the gap of kids when they entered kindergarten and the learning gap, of course. And so she did some significant research and found Raising a Reader, and Raising a Reader is a national program, and the program is the red and blue bags that we do. Since 2004, and I'll talk about later, we've added multiple other programs, but she really looked at the gap, she looked at the research, and what she found is that 90% of a child's brain is developed between the ages of 0 to 5. And so she really focused on early childhood literacy and really trying to get resources and encouraging families to read at home together. And then she found National Raising a Reader, and we became our own local affiliate as a nonprofit during that time. So that's a little bit about Raising a Reader. And the goal of our organization is to engage families to read routinely at home starting at age 0. Because we know how much the brain develops during that time, that daily book reading, and it's fun and it's joyful, and families can bond together. It builds on early childhood literacy skills, turning pages, focusing, listening to a story, all those great pieces. But it's also developing critical language development, vocabulary development. That's one big piece of key research that they see when kids start kindergarten. The lower their vocabulary, the harder time they have to learn to read. You need to have a certain number of vocabulary in, by age 5 to be really successful readers. And it can be in your home language, it's more likely that it's best in your home language.
Really develop those reading skills early on.
Yep.
So that's the goal. What services does Raising a Reader offer?
So we have lots of different programming now.
You've already mentioned a few between the blue bags, and we were talking beforehand about some of the summer camps you're having coming up. Yeah,
so I kind of put our programming kind of into two pods. One is our 2-generation Spanish language programs, and that one is the Bolsitas Rojas programs that we run in all the public libraries from Aspen to Parachute. So in all of Garfield County libraries, we do these every week from August to May, and they're really fun. We target Spanish-speaking families. Many of our families have limited access to early childhood education, oftentimes because of finances, it's not cheap. Secondly, can be transportation, getting your child to a preschool. And sometimes families have different work hours. So anyways, so we welcome all families into those programs. Every week we have the most fabulous program coordinators who run those programs. They do a read aloud to start. We have an activity that ties to the read aloud. We integrate all kinds of great skills into those programs. We use the Focus Kids curriculum throughout the year. That's around co-regulation and self-regulation skills that parents can take home and do with their kids, along with all kinds of early childhood literacy skills, vocabulary development pieces. We do a preventative dental health month in February where we invite a local dental professional to come in, and all the kids take home a book about brushing their teeth. And so we tie early literacy to brushing teeth every day. You know, both are key and important. We also connect the families to outside resources, whether it's food security, whether it's we're connecting with Lift Up and their big diaper drive right now. You know, economics plays a role in everybody's life, so we're trying to make sure, you know, we're getting resources out to families. But, you know, the essence of Bolsitas Rojas is fun, early literacy, you know, in the library. And so that's one of our 2-generation programs. Our second one is summer camps. We're kicking those off next week, and I'll talk about those a little bit later.
Absolutely.
But we run 5 of those, and again, they're all in Spanish. And I think all but one of them is in Garfield County. So,
Wow.
and then we have our book programs.
Yes.
And what we were first known for was the red book bags, and that's a book bag rotation in preschool and kindergarten classrooms. This year, I think we did that for 800 kids in the region. So we do red bags, and then we also added on a program called 1, 2, 3, Let's Read. That started in, I think, 2018, and it was kind of a small program, and what we were doing is partnering with preschools, and the teacher gets a book with guidance of what to do to connect kids to the book. And then once a teacher reads the book, the kids get to take that same book home in their family's home language with guidance for the parents. And that program, they get a new book every month. And that program just took off after COVID for 2 reasons. One is people were really afraid of germs and the red bags.
Of course.
But I think we've all gotten over that. But the second thing is we run that particular program in all the public preschools, Aspen to Parachute, and then we've taken on 14 Garfield County in-home daycares, and then I think multiple family, friends, and neighbors in-home daycares. And we do that program because there's such a turnover amongst early literacy teachers, and this is a very easy program to integrate and engage families to, again, going back to our mission, routinely read at home for fun. You know, it's never homework. And so that program's quite big. I think it's at about 800 children as well. And then we do our blue book bags. So when our kids graduate, we invite them to the library, and I call it starting in February, the blue bag tsunami, because we fill 850 of those bags. And we're getting kids, as they graduate from our programs, into the library to meet the youth services coordinators, to get them excited. They get a library card about picking out books for future reading at home, because we're no longer providing them book programming. So they're really, really fun. I hear great stories of families, or parents particularly, or youth services coordinators saying, oh, I saw this older kid with his blue bag,
Yeah.
or a parent saying, oh, my child still has their blue bag. So we know that really makes that connection to libraries, and libraries are a great resource for future reading. And then our last program, we took on a partnership with the Garfield Public Libraries. We're the nonprofit affiliate with Dolly Parton's Imagination
I was
Library.
going to ask if that was you guys that had started that.
That is us.
Amazing.
And so we partner with Garfield County. We each take on a component of that, but we do all the management. And we took over that program in March of 2025. And I think we've added over 300 kids to that program. Nice. And on average every month, it's around 1,100 kids that get a book in Garfield County sent to their home for free at no cost. And just to be clear, every one of our programs is free for kids and families. We don't charge schools or kids or families anything. So, so I do a lot of fundraising.
Yeah, no kidding.
I do a lot of fundraising.
Yeah.
Touching base on Dolly Parton's Imagination Library, really quick for those at home who might not know what that is. If you're unfamiliar with Dolly Parton's Imagination Library, it is a program where if you have a child that's under the age of kindergarten, you can sign them up totally for free. And every month you will get a free book sent to your door until they go into kindergarten, which I believe the last book is like graduating into kindergarten or something like that.
It's actually on their 5th birthday.
It's on their 5th birthday.
That's when they graduate out.
Okay.
Because Imagination Library connects it to 0 to 5 age.
0 to 5, okay.
So anyways, they kind of kick you out. I can't remember what they say, but they give me a running number on that.
Absolutely.
When they turn 5, they're done.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I think, all of our programs are, again, focused on 0 to 5 early childhood literacy and really empowering parents to read routinely at home for fun. And I keep saying fun. This is about joy, this is about love, this is about fun. This is never like about homework or...
It's not this bar of you must read. It's there is a joy in reading. There are worlds to open up into with reading.
Right.
100%.
And as you mentioned, this affects all levels of economics in terms of, being able for children to access this.
Yeah.
So I appreciate the widespread.
No, 100%. I mean, I was a child of immigrants, and I understood how hard it was sometimes to get books in Spanish.
Yes.
But they always had them because I was the youngest kid. So so it was like those secondhand books, but they were still like my most cherished books that I loved. And then it was just the early literacy is very important for any kid, and just knowing that you're doing this work is so amazing, and it makes me feel so like warm inside. I'm like, oh my god.
And we do it in a family's home language. And right now, because of where we live, we're focused on 2 languages, Spanish and English. And Dolly Parton's Imagination Library, and in Colorado specifically this year, parents can now choose bilingual books. They added that component last summer. And so I think that was just such an important piece. We were waiting for it. And we've even had families go back into their registration and change their language of choice for books for their kids. Which is,
that's so sweet.
We love to see that.
it's really nice that they've added that piece. It started in California, and then gradually other states are adding it to their programming. So, and then our last program, and I'll talk more about this later, is the Children's Arts and Literacy Festival. Again, partnering with Garfield Public Libraries, and we started that, I guess this will be our 5th year of the festival. And that came about because, our board, we're run by a board, got together and we're like, what's a fundraising thing we can do? And our board is, I think, very passionate about what we do, and we just came up with one more program. And we don't make money from the program, but it's free for all families, and last year we had over 700 children and parents come. We partner with the public libraries and Pickett County and Basalt. Lots of nonprofits come and provide engaging activities. We bring on authors to read to kids. Rosie Bell the Art Bus comes, Aspen Music Festival does an instrument petting zoo. We have face painting. And to me, it's from 2 to 5. It's after nap time and before dinner.
Absolutely.
It's perfect.
And it's all about kids and families. And we all have been, I'm a parent. And I remember when my kids were little, you go to events and if there was food, it was such a distraction. And this is all about joy and fun, early literacy, arts, like I said, after nap time and before dinner, 2 to 5. And it's on October 10th this year. And a piece that we're adding on is, because we're taking over the Mortgage Commons, because we're getting so big, is we're going to have some of our authors not just read the book, but maybe do an engaging activity with families. And we're going to try to make them kind of smaller. Like maybe, you get a ticket, 25 families, multiple things to choose from. And just go a little bit deeper. So we're going to give that a try this year. That's one added piece, but I already have over 20 vendors coming who've said yes. So
amazing.
It is really, it's quite an event, and I always worry, you can ask my husband, nobody's going to come, and then, it's a pretty popular thing.
Every year I've worked here, I can at least say that it's always been a zoo in the best way possible.
Yes, super fun, and we're celebrating arts and literacy, so it's great. So that's what we offer. We're a tiny little nonprofit. I always say, little nonprofit making a big impact in our region.
100%. And then how has Raising a Reader evolved the Valley?
Sure. I've talked about our programs, and clearly we only started with the red bags and the blue bags. And then over time, based on changing demographics, growing population, we added on like Bolsitas Rojas, and then summer camps came during COVID when we couldn't be inside. So, the camps were during COVID, and families loved them so much. Here we are, I think this is our 6th or 7th year with the camps. And we started off with 2 camps, now we're doing 5 camps. 1, 2, 3, Let's Read. I think I said it started in 2018, and it's evolved from a tiny little program to a very large program, and then just opportunities to partner with Garfield County with Imagination Library. And I've already talked about where the festival came from. Fundraiser turned not fundraiser. As a friend of mine said, it's like a mini Strawberry Days or a mini Mountain Fair.
I would wholeheartedly agree.
Yes.
So
it's just become a wonderful regional event that's accessible to everybody. And families don't have to bring money because there's nothing to buy. So, we're always about equity, really trying to close the equity gap in our region, because there are some significant equity gaps, and Raising a Reader is really very, we're pretty sensitive to that.
Absolutely.
We went into, a couple years ago, Garfield County daycare homes and FFN homes as a way to close that gap, because all kids don't go to a school, or their parents might not be available for a 2-generation program. So we're always trying to find places and spaces to make sure every family has the early literacy resources they need.
And kind of bouncing off of that and staying in a little bit of a somber topic, what are some of the biggest challenges you've noticed with getting families and children involved in Raising a Reader? I know you mentioned COVID being an impact and money being another. Is that pretty much the gist?
I think some of the things that we're noticing is just commuting longer distances. Families, are living further and further into the Colorado River Valley versus the Roaring Fork Valley. Work still tends to be further up the valley. I think that has an impact on families. Economic issues are real and changing, as we speak. Food scarcity. We have gone into that space. We do a lot of partnerships with Lift Up, our summer camps. We're partnering with RE1 and RE2 school districts. So the kids will get in RE2, they'll get a breakfast and a lunch at every camp. Amazing. And then in RE1, they get a packet of food that will last a week. So, we've also, partnered with, another local school, some donations of food. We've gotten a grant for food, so we're, in all of our 2-generation programs, we're providing really healthy food for families, and we know it's, closing that food scarcity space, or just that economic burden that all families have. I raised 4 kids in this valley, and it wasn't cheap, and I came from resources. So it's so and we do that, of course, with as partnerships only with families who are in need or want. But in our camps, it provides us fun snacks and food, and and the school districts love it. We love it. The families love it. It's just good fun. And then we're, very cognizant of immigration challenges that families might feel. And I think what Raising a Reader and our program coordinators have done so well is build safe, inclusive spaces for families, particularly in our 2-generation programs. Our program coordinators have, all of them are immigrants to this country. They are now all citizens in this country, but they have similar lived experience, and so they do a beautiful job of creating these spaces. If families have that or not, we of course never ask. And then our book programs in schools, we just know teachers are very busy, they're very overwhelmed, school systems are overwhelmed, and so we try to provide programs that are, teacher and family friendly. So, because those are, again, growing challenges in our region. So,
Has there been a shift in early literacy statistics from the Valley since starting RAR? So have you noticed some growth from before versus now?
I think that was a great question, and when I reflected on it, I wrote yes and no. So I think, yes, that we are really empowering families to read more at home. Our survey data shows that, in our book programs, a family, in the schools and things where we aren't on a weekly engagement basis, about 84% of the families said they read more at home because of our programming. And our 2-generation programs are considerably higher. They're like 96 to 98% read more at home because of participating in our programs. And, all of their testimonials show, yes, we're making an impact. As far as the gap in the school districts in our region, unfortunately, that stays about the same. I was a longtime educator in this region, and I think it's not just this region. We're seeing it nationally, particularly since COVID, kids and families and the impacts of COVID and then economic challenges. But I do feel that what we are doing helps and gets kids excited about reading when they go to school. I'd love to see the school gaps decrease. It's always been part of my work, my mission in life through everything I've done. But so I would say yes and no. That's a simplified answer to a very complicated question.
Absolutely.
And we could go into the realm of technology and how that impacts.
Right,
but,
yes, 100%.
Maybe we don't need to go down that road.
Perhaps another day. But nonetheless, we've given you a very hard question and you answered it beautifully. In short, it's a very complicated issue that you guys are tackling as best as you can.
Yeah. You guys are just one piece of the puzzle that one day maybe we'll solve.
Yeah.
With the hope of one day that we'll solve it.
But encouraging the joy of reading is certainly an important first step.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. And so, what demographic have you seen needing the most support?
Sure. You know, I think, you know, what you hear in the media is, you know, low-income families have more challenges with early literacy. You know, families whose home language is not English have more challenges. But I also feel like just all kids have more challenges regardless of their socioeconomic status anymore. Families are busy no matter, you know, and there's a lot of stressors in the home, you know, even in the best of homes and the best spaces. So I would say, you know, families whose home language is not English, of course, their kids are going to have that double effect when they go to school, where they're learning a language, a new language versus the home language. But I do feel like Raising a Reader, we really embrace reading at home in a family's home language. Don't read in, you know, your family's second or third language. Read in the language of love. That's where you're going to have the most fun. And I ran a dual language school for 22 years. And what we try to empower families is, you know, if a child's home language, they have a strong vocabulary. We'll talk about Spanish, and then when they go to school, if they have a strong Spanish vocabulary, when they start to learn English, they already have those words in their first language. And so if a teacher is talking about a pen, they've already know it's a pluma. And so it's easy to make that transfer and pick up that new vocabulary word. But if they don't have pluma in their first language, then it's really tricky to go, oh, okay, that's pen, but I don't have it in my
in your
my
arsenal
brain.
of your other language.
So so we really impress upon families that, you know, just dive into your family's home language. And so anyway, so, you know, of course that's one piece, but families who lack resources, of course. And then, you know, every family, I think raising families these days is just a big challenge. So, so like I said, we're all about the equity gap, and we don't look at, you know, income. We look at, you know, engaging all families and children.
It's important that everyone reads, no matter who you are or where you come from.
Exactly. With somebody they love.
With someone
and it doesn't mean it's their mom or their dad. It could be their grandma or their tia or, you know,
their guardian.
A caregiver. Yes.
Absolutely. What intrigued you most about early literacy, and how did you get involved with Raising a Reader?
Sure. So I started out as a preschool teacher, and I looked back, and that was in 1986. I'm really old.
You've been doing this for a long time.
Long time. And then I fell in love with kids and teaching, and I got my K through 12, or my K through 6 license, taught for 10 years, and then I became a school principal at Basalt Elementary. I was there for 22 years, and that's actually when I started with Raising a Reader, because Jane, our founder, brought the red book bags to our kindergarten during that time, and I think our preschool. So I've been a part of Raising a Reader since it started. Part of it was as a school principal, and then when I decided to move on from my public education career, Raising a Reader needed an executive director, and I wanted to work in the nonprofit space, so we found each other. So here I am.
And how happy we are that you're here.
Well, thanks. And I'm happy to be here. So I've had this long, you know, many years, starting in early childhood.
Absolutely.
Awesome. And then, what are some of your favorite memories working with Raising a Reader?
Well, I was thinking about that question too, and I just absolutely love the team that I get to work with. They're some of the most amazing, passionate, dedicated, joyful people. So a lot of my experience, or a lot of my memories are us working together, growing programs, and then what they've done to get them out there to make them happen. I'm the behind the scenes gal. I write a lot of grants, I do budget, I do partnerships, and you know, I'm out there, you know, fundraising. That's my gig, but and then I get to engage with them, and I also do programming. I have 4 schools that I do, but anyways, so just the joy of the work with these amazing women, the stories that they bring back. And I think my other favorite memory is kicking off the Children's Arts and Literacy Festival. Yeah. I've done a lot of things as an educator, and this is one I'm super proud of. You know, you do things in schools, but you know, it's just a different feeling. You know, it's like, oh, we have to do a literacy night and everybody, you know, has to go late. This is different. This is just pure joy. It's a lot of work, but it's just a whole different feeling than, you know, families bringing their kids to school at night to do an event. This is really just...
It's fun.
It's fun. And it's not connected to schools or homework or, you know, all that stuff. It's just pure joy. So
I have this image in my head of the last Raising a Reader where someone had brought in the bubbles, like the really big ones, and there was a bunch of kids with face paint running around.
Yes.
And one of the kids was talking about a book they had just read, and it's like, this is exactly what, to me, Raising a Reader is about.
Yes, I would agree. Those are, our bubble machines are a hit. Wherever we take them, they're a hit. And of course, all the fun books. And another piece, we have some really dedicated volunteers, particularly through the Glenwood Springs Kiwanis Club or the Glenwood, you know, the group of business community.
Or the Arts Guilds.
Anyways, they all come in. I put out a flyer to all of our volunteers, and it fills up like in 2 hours. And they come in and they put stickers on books, and they're chatting and they're filling bags, and just to see that joyful community involvement. We only ask for about 2 hours of their time. We'll get 10, 12, 14 people in our little bitty office, and we just get work done. And to me, I think that just speaks volumes to our partnerships in our region and family, or just anybody willing to come in and help out.
The impact of community showing up for each other.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
What is the least understood part of your work?
Oh, I think when I started Raising a Reader, I found that, you know, when we first started in 2004, it was all red bags. And so sometimes when I was writing grants or all I would hear is, oh, you're the red bag people, you're the red bag people. So I've spent 5 years changing that story. So, and I think I've been pretty effective at changing that story. But you know, every once in a while I'll still run into it. And it's like, well, we're more than red bags. We just have multiple programs. We've diversified, we're trying to close the equity gap, and red bags are great, but it's not the only thing.
It's 1% of the work that you're doing. And as a parent, what do you think is the most appealing aspect of Raising a Reader to other parents?
Joy, fun, what we're doing. We choose beautiful books. They're thoughtfully chosen. They're to engage families. Of course, they're also chosen. We need to make sure any book we choose is available. Either it needs to be in Spanish and English, or it needs to be bilingual. And they're fun books. I mean, I just love the books. I love dropping them off. I know they're great books. In our red bags, again, great books. And books, I think, I've often heard from families when they do the red bags, these would not have been books we would have chosen at the library, but we really like them. So kind of broadening the horizon of a family. And this is never homework. Ever homework. It's about you know, bonding and joy and fun. And
let's sit down and read a book together. Take a distraction away from the everyday busyness of the world.
And I call it Mental Health 101.
Absolutely.
The one thing I tell parents is, if you're sitting with your child, you know, you're touching, you're on each other's lap, 10 minutes a day, everybody's calm. It's mental health for everybody. You know, and if you can do that routinely, you know, it's going to make a big difference in your lives.
It's this daily grounding practice to a degree of sitting down and refocusing on priorities.
And you don't have to go. You don't have to go to a class. You know, you don't. You know how many things that we try to sell to parents. This is just, it's simple, and it's been around forever.
Absolutely. In your opinion, moving on to literacy as a general rule, what is, sorry, stumbling over my words, what is why is it so important to encourage literacy at a young age?
I think I've talked a little bit about this, you know, the research behind it. I think I can take it one more step is if children fall in love with reading with somebody that they love, when they go to school, they've already learned to love this practice, and hopefully they will be excited to learn to read. But you know, it's just so important. There's so many embedded skills. The list is pretty endless. Turning pages, telling stories, you know, and you know, even if we run into families where literacy is a challenge, we teach families how to tell a story. You know, don't worry about the words on the page, just tell the story through the pictures.
Absolutely.
Every level of parent and their literacy skills can engage in this. But storytelling is such a valuable skill, you know, auditory, you know, it creates imagination, and it's magical, and pictures and visuals and vocabulary development, all of it.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like that might have answered those other two.
Truthfully.
So we'll jump into the next one,
Yeah, absolutely. Is there any juvenile fiction literature that you would recommend, or any other general tips that you would give to encourage literacy?
I looked at that question, I'm like, what would I recommend? Well, I love books that are kind of fun and silly for young children. You know, I'm a big fan of, you know, the classics. If you give a mouse a cookie, Pete the Cat, Baby Bluebell, those fun ones. I think my recommendation is just find books that your child loves or that you love. And when I was raising my kids, our kids got to pick a book every night, one book. We had 4 kids, so that's 4 books a night. So, and be open to having your child pick that same book over and over and over again. It'll drive you crazy as a parent, but what you're doing is creating these brain structures that are so key. My husband and I, we could tell you there's a couple of books on the family shelf where, like, we always wanted to hide it from a couple of our kids. We're like, we can't read that book again. But we knew it was such an important, I don't know what it does, but that repetition, the sounds, the patterns in the words.
From what I understand, coming as a teen librarian, the benefit of repeating a story over and over and over again is you're cementing down the language structure.
Yes, that's what it is.
Yes, and you're getting really familiar with the vocabulary and really setting in. If you're hearing a word over and over and over again, you know what that word means.
Yes.
And you're also getting into the habit of a narrative structure, and you're enjoying yourself.
Yes. So that would be my advice to parents. They're going to do it, let them do it.
If you can sit through Toy Story 500 times, you can sit through a book 500 more times.
I agree. That's a great way to put it.
Absolutely.
I think that's a great example. You know, but be open to it. Don't always think it'll be a brand new book. You know, even if you get our red bag of books, there might be one in there that's a big hit. Okay, maybe that's the only book you read that week, and you turn in the bag, and that's okay. You don't have to read every single book in the bag. No one's, it's not homework. So anyways,
and then what events are coming up this year for Raising a Reader?
Sure. Starting next week are our 5 summer camps. We run those in El Jebel at Crown Mountain, Glowood Springs at Sayre Park, Newcastle at Burning Mountain Park, and let's see, Silt at Veterans Park, and Rifle at Centennial Park. They run for 3 weeks at no cost. They're 2 hours a day, 2 days a week. So, And when we started, they were 2 weeks, and our families came to us and said, that's just too short. And so I went out and wrote a grant and made it now 3 weeks.
Nice.
So we have a first week, we have a norming week, and then we have our ending week. This year, the theme is around travel. Last year, it was around hydrations and healthy summer foods, and we play a lot of games. There's music, there's bubble machines, there's parachutes, but it always starts with a story, and then an activity that parents and kids do together, and then we have healthy food opportunity, and then we're always giving guidance to parents about reading at home. They'll get a pack of books to take home at the end of the program, and they're creating cute little passports. So that's coming up, and then our programs kind of take a little bit of break in July. We do cleanup and things, and then we'll kick off our school programming in August, getting ready to go, just like as kids go back to school. But our big festival is coming up on October 10th. It's at the Glenwood Springs Public Library. It's a course from 2 to 5, after nap time and before dinner. And it's a Saturday. It's the second Saturday of October.
Absolutely.
So we're really excited to be kicking that off.
And I can say, as a librarian here who has seen it happen many years, it's definitely worth coming to. It's so much fun.
It's so much fun. I remember 2 years ago they had that guy juggling and doing magic tricks.
Oh, yeah, that's
my
right.
God, I loved him. Yeah, it's so much fun. Yeah.
So yeah.
I realized we probably should have included this in the questions to begin with. If people want to get involved with Raising a Reader, or they want to get their kids connected, how can they find you?
So we're pretty easy to find. Just put in Raising a Reader, and it'll pop up. There'll be National or Aspen to Parachute. So we're really easy to find online, and then the contact information is there. And I do find families find me because they do email and call. So we're pretty
Easy to reach.
Pretty easy to reach, yes.
And our final question of the day, which we ask all of our guests, is a little silly. If you or your life were a book or a book genre, what would it be?
I know, I had to think about this one too. And I chose historical fiction.
Is there a specific era of historical fiction, or why historical fiction?
No, not really. I kind of went broad on this. Well, first of all, I love reading historical fiction, so.
There you go.
But I guess I looked at it as I've been in education a long time. I've been in the Valley a long time, and I understand the history of those years. I understand the history of things and the challenges that we've seen. And, so that's the history part. But the fiction it's just always fun to tell a good story. And it's always fun to kind of embellish it a bit, to really try to get a message out there that sometimes people might not connect to.
Absolutely.
Because I think historical fiction kind of takes, things that are real in time, but they embellish it a little. But the message, and
it brings this human connection to something that you might read in a history book and view from
from a more scholar perspective. But then when you're reading fiction, it's more like, oh my God, this is the greatest story of all time. Like, I want to be this person.
Absolutely.
So I carry a lot of that. I always tell people I'm not necessarily the future, but I am the present, and I do carry the past, and I like to tell a good story.
That's beautiful.
That was a great one. I loved it.
Thanks.
Well, thank you again so much for joining us today, Suzanne, for the podcast. We love hearing about Raising a Reader, and we love encouraging. Truly, if you have not gotten involved with Raising a Reader, folks, you need to get involved. It's a lovely, lovely time.
Yeah. And if anybody wants to donate, go to our website. Pretty easy to do that. Everything is free for families, and I'm always finding creative ways to fundraise. So thank you. Thanks for having us. I love our partnership with Garfield County Libraries.
And we love our partnership with you.
I know. Raising a Reader isn't as good without this partnership. So thanks.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.